Hi guys, this is day 7 of weight loss skills training, and today we are talking about emotions and managing emotions because a lot of us do not manage our emotions and instead eat, or maybe we drink alcohol or some other activity that creates a net negative consequence for us to dull our emotions instead. So I've created a long list of questions for you. Actually, there's only maybe 6 questions that are going to help you kind of get to the root of what emotions are you feeling on a daily basis and what are you doing to deal with them. So we're going to talk a little bit about ways you can manage emotions without eating. And sometimes it requires just allowing them and just understanding that sometimes life is uncomfortable and we have uncomfortable emotions and we just get to sit through it. And just like with when we have cravings, allowing an uncomfortable emotion, let's say something like, let's use anger, because I have a wonderful husband who has a very stressful job, and he'll come home and he'll feel angry at something that happened or somebody that was unkind or acted in a way that was not professional. And an easy way for him to deal with that anger is to have a drink. But we've been talking a lot about this recently because he has decided that this isn't how he wants to deal with his anger any longer. So we talk about what it feels like to feel angry. And what we realized is that anger really is just sort of a vibration in our bodies. I happen to feel it, like I get really hot in my face and my chest feels warm. And if you think about it, like, what's so bad about that? Why can't I just sit and feel this anger? And I also need to remember that it's the thoughts that are happening in my head, like, he shouldn't have done that, or she should have been nicer to me, or that's unacceptable. When I think things like that, it creates this vibration in my body. And then I feel like I need to fix it by eating or drinking or whatever. Um, but what's really interesting is you don't need to fix it. You can just feel it and experience it and understand that it's not going to kill you. It's not even going to hurt you, other than that you're going to feel a sensation. And you can change it anytime you're ready. I'm not saying that you need to change it. You can feel it as long as you need to feel it. But anytime you're ready to stop being angry or whatever your emotion is at the moment, it just requires a different thought, because our thoughts are what create the emotion. There's no way I can be angry unless I think a thought about something that creates that anger. So you can sort of play around with that yourself in your life. So I'm going to go through these questions, and I'm going to use some of stuff in my life as an example if that helps you. And if you don't need that, you can just fast forward through this part here and answer the questions for yourself. So the first question is, what are the emotions you try to avoid having on a daily basis? So I'm at a point now where I've gotten pretty good at being willing to feel all of my emotions and any emotion, but there are still some that are more difficult to feel than others. And I would say shame is one of them. I don't like feeling ashamed. And if you know me at all, you know I do a great job of being ridiculous and doing things that could create a lot of shame for me. One of the things I noticed recently that created a lot of shame for me was in this whole coronavirus um, times that we have, I decided to take a extra job to supplement my family's income. And it is the type of job that is well below my education level. And I don't care, because I just would like to make some money to buy food for my kids. And there's actually, I noticed as I was showing up for the first day, a lot of shame in that I didn't plan better, or I didn't maybe save enough money for this eventuality. But at the same time, I didn't know. So I have a choice here. I can either ignore that shame and I could go eat something to dull the emotion, or I could drink something to dull the emotion. I could go out and I go for a run or distract myself to ignore the emotion, but it's always going to come back. So instead, what I get to do is I sat down with my journal and I wrote out all the things that I was thinking about this shame. And read through it, and there's all these thoughts of, you should have done this, you should have known better, you should have, you should have, you should have. And I decided that this is a really judgmental way of thinking and talking to myself, and I don't want to talk to myself in that way anymore. So that's a choice. I get to choose to not talk to myself. So instead, I decided I'm going to think really compassionately and lovingly towards myself, which is the way my loving voice sounds like this. Oh, honey, you did the best you could in that moment. So that's the voice of my grandpa, by the way. My grandpa always said, oh, honey. So, maybe think about, how does your compassionate voice sound? And do you want to continue to be so judgmental towards yourself, or do you want maybe a more compassionate voice? All right, so the next question is, when and how often do you normally experience these emotions? Oh my gosh, I have emotions all the time. And I think we probably all do. And if you're a woman, you probably you think more emotions than the average person, but I think we all experience emotions, because every time we think a thought, we likely have an emotion. And this is just part of the human experience. And half of them are going to be good emotions and half of them are going to be bad emotions. And I accept that and I embrace that. And I'm willing to feel all of those emotions, whether they're good or bad. This is just part of the human experience. This is what I signed up for. So I would say I have a negative emotion. I don't know, like a really strong one, maybe once a day, that I get to coach myself through. Otherwise, it's just maybe a passing, fleeting moment of either anger or irritation or annoyance or that sort of thing. And then the next question is, how does overeating affect these emotions? I think for me, overeating gives me something to do to distract myself. I don't like how I feel afterwards, because I feel icky in my body, and then I'm also disappointed in myself. So it's like a really short-term temporary fix for the emotion. And then I'm left with feeling the emotion that I started with, plus shame and doubt and regret over the action that I just took. So it didn't help anything. It made it worse. So I might as well just deal with it to begin with. And that's something I'd like for you to find out for yourself as well. And then, how do you feel after you've overeaten, and how does it affect the emotions you were trying to avoid? I feel like I just answered that. Like, it just makes it worse, right? It doesn't solve anything. And do you imagine your day would be like if you felt these emotions instead of overeating? So I think if I took the time, and I do, to really feel how I'm feeling, and maybe take some time to write it all down and write out the thoughts and write out the sensations I'm feeling in my body, it might take me a few minutes. Like, I may just have to deal with it until I get out of that very situation, and then later come back to it and write it all out. And I think it might take a few minutes of my time, but I think, and this is what I've noticed, is this is what helps me evolve into a more emotionally capable human being. So I no longer am at the mercy of my emotions. I know that I can handle everything. I know that everything is, I love this. I learned this from my son's guidance counselor. She had the sign on her wall. It said, everything is figure-outable. I love that. It's so true. Everything is solvable. Everything is figure-outable. I can solve any of my emotional problems. I can solve any of my physical problems. It's just going to take me some time, maybe some failures, and a willingness to constantly show up and work. So I hope this gave you a little bit of insight on what it feels like to manage an emotion. We're going to keep practicing with this, and we have like a whole 3 more weeks worth of work to do on this. So don't think that this is the last time you're going to hear this. This is not the last time I'm going to talk about this. This is a huge part of our program, because if you're willing to feel any emotion and you're willing to follow your program and be committed, and we're going to talk about commitment tomorrow, then there is no reason why you will ever overeat again, and you will always lose the weight and you will never gain it back. And that is my promise to you. So have a great day. Answer your questions. Let me know if you have any questions. You can always email me and ask questions, and I will be getting back to you as quickly as I possibly can. Okay, have a great day. Take care.